Physics video presentation. Understand, it's got to have some politics in here, so if you don't want the politics, just jump ahead and maybe there'll be some physics. But some of this has to be done. Google has to be taught a lesson, blah, 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 blah. Somebody has to care about principles and something called integrity and all that crap. So let's do Baldy Catz half of this first. I'm going to keep putting his name in the title, coward. And if he doesn't want that label, okay, he doesn't want it on the video anymore, all he has to do is produce what I requested anyway for the debate, which was his counter argument. Show me one video on anywhere on the internet, I don't care, as long as it's a video, that accurately explains wave theory in regards to the two-slit experiment, that actually uses wave theory to demonstrate the two patterns of the double-slit experiment. Show how two waves works. And then if we're going to say there's four waves, show how the waves are in anything like the rational location. So produce the content, produce it. It's the cornerstone of quantum mechanics. It's the cornerstone of your whole drawing of what a photon is. It's the cornerstone of the crap you teach. So why can't you produce the evidence? Why can't you produce the explanation that can survive even simplistic critique in terms of simple things like understanding it's a projection, and that when you project something on a flat screen you distort it? Can it survive even those simple critiques? And I'd say to the whole shill organization, if you believe all this crap, and this is one of your foundational cornerstone experiments, like the Eddington experiment, it's the cornerstone of your whole philosophical point of view. It is a philosophy, not science. You're off. Philosophy is right next to religion almost. But anyway, why can't you produce it? Why can't you produce this unassailable evidence that just proves your point? Now you have a right to insult and mock people who don't believe. Well, why don't you produce the evidence? What's so difficult? Anyway, so do that, or be properly labeled what you are: cowards, shit-talking, trolly little cowards. All right. So on to Google. So Google is guilty of just so many crimes, a very thought police, and it's all by some dopey algorithm, right? I mean, the video they took down is still up on YouTube. It's just not on one of my channels. And that's what this is really about. It's about whose channel it's on, and it's about who complains. It has nothing to do with any, protect people thing. This isn't about protecting the audience, the users of YouTube. Now, everybody could figure out that, well, if YouTube really cared about this community thing and all that crap, they would actually let the community have something to do with it. I mean, the community, not just the trolls, not the people who just hit the flag buttons and who hit thumb down buttons, but as a group, a vote, some sort of democracy. See, if they knew what a constitution was, if they knew what America was, the foreigners, they don't know what America is. They might want to try to make some sort of real democratic process, to create these standards of when somebody's crossed the line where they have to do something. And this is in the context where Google's perfectly aware that unless you have $10,000, you can't protect your name and reputation. You can't do a goddamn thing. You don't have any power. Unless you're rich, you have no power here, because the law won't protect you. You can't just call the cops and say somebody, pissed in my yard. Not that they do anything about that either, but there's no law. Okay, it really is that bad. So they have all the power, and they've manipulated the actual law. I'll go into the DM how they completely violate the DMCA in the next video. So they don't have any standards. They just sit there and an algorithm, a piece of computer software flags the video based on how many trolls created fake accounts that have no content, right? It's not like people with content do this. And in this case, right, let's say Baldy Catz flagged the video. Oh, well then Google's going to pay attention because, see, he's important. But I'm not. My channel's little. Little channels don't matter. Big channels matter. Monetized channels matter. Commercials matter. Unmonetized don't matter. I mean, it's that obvious. And he just hasn't gotten around to getting to the other video yet, right? That's probably the answer. You know, why the algorithm hasn't destroyed the other video yet. And Google knows, you know, they also know when anyone ever puts a duplicate video up somewhere, Google automatically already knows. Their computers know all that shit. So they know it's there. They know it's been flagged. They know it's been taken down. Nothing happens, though, because not the right people complained yet. And that's all it's about. Nothing else. You know, this is a bullshit system. It doesn't do anything. It's, again, it has nothing to do with protecting either the producers or the users. It just has to do with protecting Google. It just has to do with Google being convenient and easy. No employees involved. You know, they don't have to pay anybody to do anything. They don't have to, you know, pay for whatever civilization they're going to create on this medium. They don't want to pay a penny for it because it's not selling ads. And that's why they don't get rid of all these sock accounts, is because those people click on the videos. They watch a lot of videos. And they watch a lot of ads. And so that's the whole game being played here. It has nothing to do with civilization or decency or right and wrong. It's just about Google making fucking money. And that's it. Nothing else. And that's why we are so powerless. That's why we can't even research somebody else's other comments on their videos. Why shouldn't I be able to go to their channel and see every comment they post? Why are they hidden? Why doesn't Google, the search engine that's supposed to show us the internet, it doesn't index the comments on YouTube videos? The old search engines that sucked, right, that we all had to get rid of because Google is so great, those old search engines, Alta Vista, Alta Web, all those search engines, you know, Yahoo, they used to index the comments on YouTube videos. How come we can't get them now? Why is the internet being as hidden from people? Why is that? Whose advantage is that? Oh, I would say it's a great advantage for the trolls. But what legitimate function is protected by that kind of crap? I can't imagine what it would be. Somebody want to give me a suggestion of what legitimate good thing is protected by allowing trolls to hide what they're doing, to be unaccountable for their other behaviors? How is that to our advantage? They can slander us. They can put word associations together. They can use our real name. They can do all kinds of stuff, right? And this whole name using thing, right? It doesn't matter, right? You just happen to see a YouTuber pop out of his house, and so now you know his name and address, and now you're allowed to publish it, right? Is that how the game should work? I mean, this is such bullshit, and they could create some mechanism that we'd all have to accept, you know what I mean? Some democratic compromise bullshit. But at least we'd know the rules. At least we would know there would be some kind of explicit statement from past, we'd be able to see the past decisions, and so we would know where the line is. But there's no line drawn anywhere. One person gets treated completely different than another person. There's no precedent of the courts here. And even the courts, you know, Google, okay, I'll do the lawsuit in another video, but I mean, it was a joke. And it just shows how Google's controlling even our justice system. They're above the fucking law. And it's disgusting. So anyway. So, on to the regular agenda that was destroyed by these creepy, slimy, lying sacks of shit like Baldy Catz. You know, pretending his sensitivity on the subject of the Holocaust required him to bail out because it's so important to him. Yeah, he used the Holocaust as a bailout, as a parachute. He sat there and knitted it into a parachute for his own convenience. These hypocrites, they're just such disgusting hypocrites. And again, we'll see his hypocrisy, because every single one of his little debates is going to be with some asshole. Just guaranteed, right? Guaranteed that we can just go do some research on the wackos he's going to have in his debate room, and they're going to be anti-Semites. They're going to be, you know, racist of all kinds. They're going to be the NAMBLA members or some other kind of bullshit. We know they're going to violate all kinds of ethical rules. and yet he's going to debate them. Some asshole said I'm entitled. Well, I'll get to that in the comment section, I guess. That's not do it in time. He agreed to it, for fuck's sake. I invested time in trying to provide a smooth and efficient argument about a specific subject, and then he bailed out, okay, on bullshit. He agreed to something and he said, no, I don't agree because, oh, I have to profile you. Oh, I forgot to profile you ahead of time before I agreed. you know, what a pile of shit. And you people applaud and say, well, great move, great shysterism. I love the shysters. Just keep voting for shenanigans because it's your guy doing it, right? So just change it. I saw a great little line in a dopey video that somebody linked me to that we'll be playing eventually. It's just so bad. But somebody said in the comments, quantum semantics. I thought that was great. Yeah, that's all this. It's just semantics everywhere. The liars are now good storytellers. It's just such bullshit. Okay. So, no brains in head, which, sometimes is too true. Ridiculous. All this baseless accusations, trolls. Well, they're not baseless accusations, but the point is it's an impossible subject. You have to have a definition for a term. Again, it's like I could have married a woman and we had sex when we were, 15 or some kind of coarse shit, and I was 17 and whatever the thing would be. And, so the asshole could ask me, are you a rapist? And I say, all right, well, technically, okay, whatever. What the fuck is this horse shit? Okay, so you throw around accusations, even murderers, we can't even define that word rationally. The difference between somebody who deliberately kills and somebody who doesn't. But whatever. Trolls and stupid nonsense. So yeah, the underlying subject is not stupid. Can we discuss history? Even the subject of the fact that subjects become impossible because people are so personally invested in the truth. Just like it's probably impossible for Christians and Muslims, to have any kind of rational conversation about, savior duality. Well, can't we call it a particle and a wave? Can't we call it both Mohammedibus? Majibis or Jiba Maham, or no, they can't come to some compromise. Okay, but does that mean that we have to be at war and that we can't have any civilization? I think that's stupid. And Baldy Catz is basically saying, yes, we can't have a civilization. You have to either be a Nazi or a non-Nazi, in the sense that you have to believe everything, okay, that he believes, or else you're just as bad. You're just as bad as the Nazis. So you might as well join their club because he won't let you be in his club. So you're left with no club. So, I guess I have to be a joiner then, because you're going to sit there and disenfranchise me. And then way I can get re-enfranchised if I have to go join some other club that will franchise me. What the hell choice are you making here? So again, that's the real subject. That's a deep and important subject that's just glossed over by these pieces of stupid moronic shit that can't figure out there's something a little more important here than the actual specific accusation, the actual specific definition. But anyway, people are just too stupid to have anything called an important or useful conversation. Okay. That shit bothers me, like there's no such a thing as a fair fight. Well, obviously there can't be if liars get to win. Okay, so yeah, if slander is a legitimate weapon, then yeah, there's no fights that'll mean anything. All right, I really hate Google. Well, that's a first start. So work on that for a while and make sure you do it for a good reason and all that crap. Don't do it because you don't like G's and O's. To be honest, you're acting like you are entitled to his time. No, I negotiated that. I did it all publicly. I did it right in front of everybody's face. I said, none of you people, I try to pay him. I try to do all kinds of things to make an agreement, all right, to have my opportunity to interrogate their physics. I'm just asking for the opportunity to do exactly what they do to flat earthers. Please give me the opportunity to interrogate your physics. Are you making logical assumptions and deductions, and does any of what you're saying make consistent sense, or are you relying on some sort of truther data? You know, magical experiments that never took place. Truther nonsense. Are you the truthers, or are you actually people who give a shit about science? That's all. And so I finally badgered him. Yes, I did badger him a little. I didn't harass him in his house or something. Polite comments, okay? And I told him, look, if you don't want me to ask the question, then just overtly block me and say you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear, that I'm willing to offer you money and you won't take it, okay? You won't set a price for your time. So entitled to his time. Everybody knows on this channel, right, that I sat there and offered to pay him for his fucking time. And then he said $700 an hour, and I thought that was a bit outrageous. That's what took place here, liar. You don't understand how you're a fucking liar? Dryden, you're a fucking liar. God damn. What are you, just a cowboy again? So this is the problem too. Google just lets these people make an account. It's a day old. Right? This guy's just a day old account, right? With his little dagger. His dagger of lies. Yeah, nothing. No content here. You can't even get anywhere to find out how old the account is. What the fuck is this shit? This is the shit we should be wasting our time on. Why does Google give absolute rights? Why doesn't it mark accounts that have zero content and don't even let you access the about page? Why is they're hiding everything? Why the fuck does Google give these people the right to comment? Shouldn't you have to earn it? No, of course not, because that wouldn't be good for Google's money. Okay, its bottom line is it's just try to suck as many people into the process as possible. Get people viewing Google pages. And that's all it's about. And they don't want to throw away any. They don't care how dirty the bathwater is. They'll never throw it out. Alright. Acting like you're entitled to his time. Okay, so again, I offered to pay for it. And his audience, I offered to pay more for that. I said I would actually pay hundreds of dollars if I could have the debate on his channel. I did that. It's a fact. In the record. The public record. And you aren't. Okay, so that's just, so you just lied about the history. You just lied about the context. And you're proud of yourself? You think your mother and father would be proud that you're a liar on the internet? You think your granddaddy was, he's a great little liar on the internet? You think so, fuckhead? Yeah, I'm accusing you, fuckhead, of being a despicable liar on the internet. Because it's overt. Every fact disputes what you just fucking said the truth was. Alright. He basically is doing you a favor. I didn't ask for a favor, did I? So another pile of crap. Did I ask him to do me a favor? And frankly, I can show you where I thanked him. Okay? Thanks. It's in my email. So should I show you the email where I thanked him? It's okay with me. Thanks. Thanks for the opportunity. I said that publicly in the comment. Thanks for giving me the opportunity. So again, you're saying, where's my crime here? He agrees to something and then bails out for a complete lie reason, right? So let's understand too, he posted on his Twitter long before we had finished our conversation that the debate was off, basically. He had already said, for reasons I can't talk about because it's just too disgusting, the debate it doesn't look like it's going to happen. He said that long before we were done. I hadn't even had a chance to finish my defense, and he had already convicted me. So this is just horse shit. And the attention that would come from it. Again, I'm not seeking attention for any other purpose than to get myself enough relevancy so all you trolls have to actually produce real evidence for a change. But it's not just a troll conversation. It's somebody who actually knows something about physics tries to make a counter argument. Again, somebody who knows something about physics and can actually produce the evidence. I'm asking you to produce evidence. please produce evidence of the peer-reviewed scientific paper that proves that when you open the second slit, a place that was light gets dark. Is that asking too much? Because you might be able to find a paper on that subject, but again, I'll dissect it and show where, well, that's a pile of shit. See, the one with electrons is a pile of shit. It has to be photons. Okay, because the one with electrons is really photons. But anyway, electrons won't make the double slit pattern. They'll make the single slit pattern. Anyway, with the debate and the attention that it would come from it, if you really wanted this opportunity, so another lie that's implying that somehow I don't really want the opportunity, I've only been all over the internet begging for it. Sabine Hoffenpfeffer charges $50 for you to ask a physicist. I filled out the form and she won't let me even pay for it. Right? She won't let me pay for the opportunity to ask them questions. I mean, that's the bullshit here. That's the real story, fuckhead. There's no other story. All right. It would have been wise to be a little more cordial. Again, all of my correspondence with all of the physicists have been cordial. You're just, again, lying, right? I should be cordial when he's accusing me of being a Holocaust denier because a troll told him so. I should cordially respond to that. And again, so if I sent him an email, I've heard you're a child molester, you know, and I heard like most teachers are anyway, and I heard lots of shit. So why don't you explain how you're not? You know, fuck you. Yeah, I know what he'd send back to me. Fuck you. You know, you're just such liars. Oh, despicable liars. Oh, so he comments to his own comment again. So this is obviously just a troll account. Also, that video is very likely got you a strike because you said a certain phrase that starts with the N multiple times. And again, so show me. You're suggesting to me that nobody said the N word in a video on YouTube because it's a sacred word. Oh, I clearly explained the context. There's a million music videos that have the word all over the place. And yes, people use it all the time, and I didn't call anybody anything, okay? I didn't use it in any other context than to use it as a word that now is socially acceptable, and I was making that point. So that standard is bullshit, and you know it. Yes, that might have triggered the computer. That's okay with me. Triggering, again, they rejected the appeals in record time. You know, the appeal I sent on the Draft Physics channel, they rejected in less than 3 minutes. I mean, that never happens. You never get an appeal rejected in less than 3 minutes. They barely read it, if they read it at all. All right, that should obviously be avoided on this platform. Well, again, I don't think there's anything obvious about us avoiding this shit. So nobody can talk about the word, no one can say the word, except FedEx can have it pumping out of their fucking trucks, and UPS can have it pumping out of their fucking trucks, right? But nobody else can talk about it? Oh, bullshit. Jesus, this is such a horse shit. Or at all, really. So again, this is just such horseshit. Clearly, it's part of it's a culturally relevant word again, and for some other, you know, hypo-psychological reasons that somehow we own the negative context by, you know, playing with the fire. You know, to me it's nonsense. It really should be a taboo word, and it's, in my opinion, doesn't do anybody any good for that word to still be around. But you're lying if you're going to argue that nobody can say any of those words like WAP or any of that crap. Of course they can say them. They just can't use them as labels for people. Fuckhead. Alright. WTF. Are you to judge? Get back to your cage, you lab rat. Well, like I said, I think he's worse than that. He's not a rat, he's a bug. Okay, a little buggy troll. A liar, but, you know, right there in front of everybody. He did that disgraceful lying. Alright, so fuck you. Fake account, fake people. making fake news. Let's see. I have the integrity to say, like, people are honest, to even try to troll me, account videos, and it's pathetically sad. Okay, well, whatever. That's good enough. I have read all of Miles Mathis' stuff. So you've read that he thinks, that it's a viably reasonable argument that Stephen Hawking died 20 years ago and was replaced by another guy with ALS who happens to look just like him. Alright, yeah, that's really good stuff, I tell you. And, and pi equals 4. Really great argument. Anyway, and after reading the comments here, it just confirms the obvious, all just innuendo. What innuendo? He makes direct accusations. The accusations are irrationally disconnected from reality. Where's the innuendo? It's a direct statement. He's full of shit. It's absolute nonsense. Okay. And nothing real as a response. Well, except for the real response that Stephen Hawking is allowed to dye his hair, asshole. It's not that. His argument is you have to believe it's a fake Steve because somebody with ALS wouldn't dye their hair. They wouldn't have any vanity at all. They wouldn't care if there was like soup stains on his clothes and shit. He wouldn't bother doing a damn thing about it because he's got ALS and there's no point in trying to look decent. That's the argument. Yeah, it's a really stupid argument, fuckhead. And the argument that pi equals 4 is so retarded because pi only equals 4 when there's no force involved. I mean, when you're not having a gravitational force that's turning something. So pi equals 4 when a track runner has to slow down, that is, impose more friction on the ground to make a turn. Then pi equals 4. So when a ball's running through a track and it imposes more force to turn, so it slows down because it has to turn, it has to slow down. Well, guess what? The Earth doesn't have to do any of that crap. And it doesn't do it out of its own, it doesn't manufacture it out of its own velocity. It manufactures it out of the force. The force pushes it. It doesn't have to push itself. So like the cars going around the track are the better example because you're using gravity to turn the car. So when you slope the track, then you change the game a little. And now pi doesn't equal 4. Well, anyway, I don't want to do the video over again, but the argument's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous argument, and he proved it with ridiculous math. He used the mathematical formula for converting radians into degrees. That formula isn't going to tell you what pi is. Fuckhead. Alright. Miles is a real smart guy, so he puts that in capital letters. I didn't say he wasn't smart. I'm saying he's pretty much insane. Okay, he's really stupid about one subject, which is just fucking with people is a really lousy thing to do with your life. And that's all he's doing. He's just fucking with people. Look, I can make incredibly stupid arguments and I can get assholes to believe them. That's all he's doing. Okay. And haters will hate. This has nothing to do with hate. It just has to do with Miles Mathis makes extraordinary claims and proves them with extraordinary semantics. Anyway, such is the world. Yeah, fuck you. You're a part of the problem, fella, not part of the solution. Newsflash. Check it out yourself, folks. Well, you're not going to do that on my channel. Okay, Miles Mathis doesn't link to my channel. Why should I have put links to his channel? His website. Miles Mathis lies about who I am and my objectives and everything about it. And that's after I had emailed him, politely. So why should he be given any courtesies? He doesn't apply any. Anyway, folks, that would be honest approach. Yes, if you're interested in truther theories, go to Miles' channel because it's just all a bunch of truther crap. A bunch of nonsensical, disconnected crap, and it's all about proving people are Jewish. So if you're anti-Semitic, he's your guy because he'll give you lots of semantical crap to say everybody who's evil in the world is a Jew. I wonder if, maybe I can arrange for Miles Mathis to have a debate on Baldy Catz channel. That would be really interesting. Because Miles Mathis has clearly got a problem with Jews, all right? Clearly. But I don't think he'll ever answer the question that he's anti-Semitic. So if you ask him if he's anti-Semitic, he'll say, no. I just out all the Jews. That's, my job is to make sure you know every Jack Nicklaus is Jewish. Don't let him fool you. That's his agenda. So anyway, it's just hilarious. These people are so fucking clueless. None of these assholes know what the fuck they're talking about. They just, have typewriter, will be monkey. Fuck. Alright. I've received strikes for videos made to discourage actual hate speech terrorism, flagged by Algerian who tried to use a VPN to hide his identity. There's no real anonymity. Well, I think there really is, frankly. VPNing to VPNs to VPNs, you can make the trail so expensive to follow that there's no point in trying to follow it. But the truth is that this, accountability is kind of an important concept, and it's really disgusting that everybody seems really comfortable with just destroying it. Okay, supposedly a person looked at the appeals and stuck to the claim. Oh, see, that's the important thing I wanted to mention too. See, there's none of this data we really have, right? But it'd be great for Google to get sued, so we could get this information. How many appeals actually get reversed? I mean, how many times does it work to file an appeal? So out of all the videos taken down and appealed, how many of the appeals work? Because Google really doesn't want to ever give the indication that its computer isn't doing just fine, that the automated system isn't just fine, because that would make them liable. See, and they don't want that. So they don't want to ever have to answer the appeal, with a yes, you're right, we fucked up. They never want to admit that. All right. Well, I'll read whatever else is here. So supposedly the person looked at the appeals and stuck to the claim without answering my request for clarification as to what exactly qualified as hate. Well, they don't answer anybody's questions. Like I said, they don't tell you where you violated the rules, and they don't, and they'll give you no insight as to what your trespass was. No insight at all. Okay, I'm aware that whatever this is, Qatar controls a major portion of Silicon Valley now. Well, that sounds a little bit wacky. I've noticed other videos on this subject go missing. Criminally dishonest tactics are everywhere now. It's weird. It's as though they really think we can't plainly see what they're really doing. Well, it doesn't matter if we plainly see it, because all the fans can't see it. So it's like the Yankee fans applauding, when when the fans are throwing bottles at players, the opposing players. I mean, the fans just can't care about right ethics. They don't care how many fucking women their heroes rape. They don't care. None of that matters. He's a hero. It's the O.J. syndrome all over the place. And what was that other fucking guy who killed his wife and got away with it? This is humans are the problem. They are despicable. It's not the Hitlers of the world. It really isn't. It's the mobs. The mobs willing to go for anything. Any cheap, shitty solution, they'll take it. They'll follow any kind of, whatever, Twinkie seller. All right. Every high school physics student. So this is somebody who, calls himself a doctor. Do we really believe that? I bet he has no content either. Okay. So let's see. And you can't get to his about page. So what's this guy? He has one subscriber, himself, no doubt. Dr. Martin, whatever this is, Mobley. And he's got music clips. Probably full of whore, slut, and N-words. It's just, fuck. So anyway, every high school physics student would know that the guy talks non-scientific nonsense. I don't think they'd, I really think if you sit there with a high school student and I say something like, there's no video on the internet that explains the two-slit experiment rationally. They don't know what a projector is and how you distort the thing. They don't know it's a finite amount of angles that have a path length difference. They don't understand a single thing. They don't even know what a point source is. And they certainly don't understand that the where the math works, the waves would be in. I think I could explain to any, even like 4th grade kids could figure this part out. Like, what's wrong with this picture? Here's a wave here, and here's a wave here, here's a wave here, and here's a wave here. What's wrong with this picture? Waves go in, and look at where they come out. What's wrong with this picture? I think the little grammar school kids could see that part and say, I got it. Wave can't go through brick wall. Yeah, that's right. It can't go through the brick wall. Okay. This guy talks unscientific nonsense. So, wow, you really proved it. You demonstrated with so much. I mean, there's just so much there. All like 6 words. Wow, you really worked hard on that, didn't you? So, yeah. Wow, that's just so impressive. See, all this stuff will not matter. Once this channel is relevant, then there'll be real people who do thinking. And they'll say, but what about? And, what about the... and that'll be useful, okay? Because they'll be actually saying, waves can go sideways and maybe, they'll make some kind of rational explanation. And so that's the comments that'll be paid attention to instead of this mush, this little baby talk from these little babies. These unaccountable, no content. Again, no content. Gutless little cowards with troll accounts. They put up nothing, and they claim a right. They claim a right to use tactics that they wouldn't like it if I used them against them. But they have nothing to lose because they put up nothing. They invest nothing in the conversation. No personal hair. It's disgusting. Alright. Last one. I have to become a different person and pretend I like assholes. Yes, that's a great quote. I had a lot of great quotes in there. You always had other one that was really good, I thought. I'm gonna, I'm gonna die with my boots on and without their dildo up my ass. Yeah, that's a good quote. Let's see, I'm gonna win. Anyway, the interrogation. It's so funny how Baldy Catz tries to draw out the persecution complex out of you so he can slip by his idiot followers and not be held accountable for his lies. Well, the big lie being that that he has some right, to use these bullshit goalposts lines of you're not an acceptable human if you don't believe what I believe. So if you don't have my values, I can disqualify you in secret, okay, and just call you, he's just too dirty a person for me to have a debate with. I mean, it's such a joke that some people have made some comment about the fact that me posting the emails. Well, I was clearly found the emails obnoxious and said it right from the beginning. I told him I have no personal interest in the subject. I have no will to argue it publicly or privately. And he had no right to badger me on the subject at all. So to me, they were just hostile troll emails. These aren't emails I should feel any obligation to sit there and defend myself to this piece of shit, especially when he produces zero evidence of my crime. So anyway, but clearly there was no choice. There was no option here. Again, he was going to say, what could he say? We agreed to cancel the debate? No, we didn't agree to that at all. So what was he going to say? I committed some crime. That's all he could say. I did something so outrageous that I'm an unacceptable human being. So the accusation was going to be made directly by him to the public. There wasn't any way for him to explain it without making an accusation, because he wasn't going to say, I canceled the debate for my own personal problem reasons. Because that's all he could say that would have been fair to me. There's nothing else he could have said that would have been fair to me but him saying, I'm too stressed, or I can't handle it right now. All he could do was make some lie that pointed to him being the asshole. Because as soon as he points to me being the asshole, he's already opened the subject. Because I don't accept his definition. I'm not a bad person, and I won't accept some asshole telling me I am. Some fucking bad person asshole. Some person who will lie to other people. No, you're not telling. Some coward is going to tell me I'm a bad person. Fuck you, coward. Alright. So, I guess I can move on now to, I don't know if I want to play this video. Oh, this is the stupid thought experiment video. Oh, it's too stupid. Yeah, I'm really hating Sabine now. She's just too useless, this piece of slop. So PBS, the PBS stupid channel is going to do a couple of videos on, unification theories. And she's going to be in one of them, which will be a good joke. But it's going to be so bad, right? But it just seems, they're probably desperate to get this back to some kind of subject people can understand, because all of the PBS videos have been so obtuse and way out there in laughable land that nobody could take it seriously. So this is weird. This Kyle Hill guy has 250,000 subscribers. It's like watching Barney the dinosaur. It's so fucking fat and it's just so childish. It's just so these little boy men, and he actually calls himself a boy in the description. Who's the smart boy. Oh, Kyle is playing the smart boy.
The speed of light, immutable, unchanging, the universal speed.
I mean, what the fuck even is this little desperate blondie thing he's trying to pull off? I mean, not even close, fella. No, you don't have blonde hair. No, you really don't. Holy shit. So anyway, just so fucking... G word. But anyway, so it's really bad. So it didn't inspire a few thoughts in my brain, so I will talk a little bit about... I don't really feel like it. Yeah, this whole thing, you read the comments, it just sucks all the life out of you. All the will to live just evaporates. Oh, God, the planet is too stupid. So this idea of their silly description of what light is. And so anyway, this guy's going to talk about a Higgs, something boson thing, the Einstein very cold space. So they actually think they can make a place so cold that it's it's 1 billion times less than 1 degree cold or something. Like, they really do think they can get to some kind of absolute zero. And the whole idea of what heat is the idea that you have both atoms, right? Okay, so we know atoms are composites, so they have pieces in them. And so you can have the actual atoms can be moving, right? And that's heat, because it's momentum in the little parts. Or the little parts themselves can do, as Feynman says, jiggle. That is, there could be jiggling happening in the protons and the neutrons, and there could be jiggling happening in the electron, and that its position is always changing. And so the idea is to get to this Higgs, this Higgs boson, whatever state. Sorry, I'm not saying it right. Is it in the description somewhere? Probably not. It's because it's all about him. It's not about the subject. Yeah, so there's no links to any of the actual subject. So, as I'm arguing, things like gravity are automatically going to create heat because they're creating momentum. Gravity is an actual force, so to speak. Okay, the force is that it's always there in the atmosphere, the universe, the outside of things, and it's always pushing on the outside towards anything that's an inside, and the inside has a little bit less force because the inside has got pieces that end up moving, and that absorbs the force. So there's always it's always present whenever there's a piece of matter. So the idea is that you could never create a container for matter on Earth. If you wanted to make one of these boson states or whatever they were called. Sorry, I really should. Yeah, well, you don't really need. I mean, it's just a condensate, they call it. So the idea is you take everything out, all the heat, and you're left with some atomic condensate. Now, in theory, I would say that would be true, that if you could really knock it way down so there's no external energy anymore, then everything would just settle into its magnetic position and be like magnets, and they're not jiggling at all. They're just perfectly still. And that's what you'd end up with, because the only energy would be the energy between them. And that would be locked in, and so as long as you don't influence it from the outside, this little structure just keeps doing its thing, okay, quite quietly. Anyway, this also has to do with them, the speed of light. And they think that light moves slower, okay? That it actually moves slower when it's going through something, and it really doesn't. It's a force. See, you can see it. Light's a force, and it's really neat in a way that we actually get to see one of the forces. The force, just like magnetism and gravity and all that stuff, and we get to see it. And we can put it into a laser beam, and shoot it. Oh dear, I'm way insufficient drawing. Sorry, I forgot I had I didn't fix the screen. Still making mistakes here and there. All right, so it's neat that we can see lasers, right? So we can shoot a laser through plastic or glass or something, and something dirty water, and we can actually see the light bend, right? We can actually see it happen, and it's kind of neat, that you can actually, because the force is still traveling through the glass, and we can see the little photons that hit stuff and fly off. So we can see the scatter from a laser beam. We don't see the actual photons from the laser beam, but we see that it's energy moving, and it's moving in this little confinement. We see that it stays in its little confinement, and it moves, and that's force, really, moving the speed of light. And what's the catch, though? The catch is the reason why it's producing this light that we can actually see is because it is hitting something. The force is hitting stuff, and when it hits the stuff moves. When the stuff moves, it creates new photons. And that's what we're seeing. It's deflecting the photons. It's deflecting the force into photons. We're getting this. We have this opportunity to actually see a force, but all the forces are doing the same thing. They all have their speed change, so to speak, when they have to go through a medium, because they're transferring, pressure. They're hitting something. They're moving it. They move it a little bit slower than the speed of light, so it slows down a little to move the object. And every time that happens, so the more times you make that happen, the more times it slows down. So the more time the force is pushing something, moving it, the more time it's consuming, because now it's not moving the speed of light anymore. So obviously denser materials, things that have more mass in them, means you have to move more mass. And if you're moving more mass, you're going to slow down more. Just, per distance. It's just logical. So there's no great mystery to any of that crap. It's not, magic. So anyway, back to the Hosate bullshit nonsense. So obviously, if, I've made this point before about us and gravity. So the same thing would have to do with a Bose condensate. What's the other name? Einstein-Bose? Is that what they call it? Yeah, an Einstein-Bose condensate or something. All right, well, anyway. So, it's the same rule as the person on Earth, okay, being affected by gravity. He's not being affected by one force. He's being affected by one force he never feels, and he's being affected by the second force that he feels all the time. He feels it hitting him in the ass. So there's two forces. One of them is matter, okay, little atoms, and the atoms push on other atoms, and those atoms push on other atoms, and the force has to move through all the atoms. And the other force is still in the laser beam form. It's still in the light form. It's coming down as little pieces of energy that are hitting just electrons and protons. And very, it's hitting also moving some atoms, but the movement of the atoms is a lot less percentage of what's moving you. So it's a much higher percentage of force hitting electron than atom, hitting atom. You still see that? Yeah. So a higher percentage. So it's mostly atom hitting atom, this force, and it's mostly force hitting electron and proton, this the force. So they're very different in that sense, the pushback. But anyway, so the point is, if you were a Higgs boson, Einstein, whatever, condensate, a bosate, what would be happening to this little atom? So let's say we could even do this. We could isolate an atom and then try to take all of the influences out of the environment. Well, what influence we know we can't take out of the environment is gravity. And the only way you can make anti-gravity is to make anti-force. That is, you have to apply a force whether you like it or not. So you have to create magnetic force, right? You could take two magnets and put them north side, right? Okay. And now I have anti-gravity. So I put this on a stable surface, the north side on the north side on a stick, and the magnet will levitate. It'll resist what gravity's doing. But what happens when it reaches its equilibrium? Oh, the same thing is happening. Gravity's pushing this way, the other magnetic force is pushing this way, and they're both doing it at the same time, and they both continue to do it. They both continue to bounce the object in the space. And you can almost see that. You can see how bouncy that magnet would be, how easily it will oscillate, because that's what it's actually doing all the time, is oscillating. And the same thing happens to us. Part of your body every minute, there's a percentage, okay, over time, in a period of time, at any one Planck moment in time, more of your body is moving up, the electrons and protons. If you figured out which way all the electrons and protons were going, the net balance is going to be up. And then the next Planck moment of time, it could be down. And the next moment it'll be up. And the next moment it'll be down. So when you add it all up, it's neutral. It equals zero. But at any one moment, it doesn't equal zero. The fact is, both forces are acting on you. And it's just a fact. And in moving down, you're consuming force that would have been going down, and you're slowed it down. And in moving back up, you've consumed force, okay, that time. You've slowed down energy, so you've consumed energy by forcing the force to push back. The pushback consumed force. Nothing, you don't get movement of matter without consuming force to do it. So this Higgs boson thingy, this Einstein whatever blah blah condensate would have the same problem. It's still in gravity. So even if I create magnetic fields to keep the atom from hitting the surface of my container, right? I have to make a container, and I'm going to put an atom in it. Well, obviously the atom's going to move from gravity, and it's just going to sit here on the bottom of the container. So that's not going to work. Because then I know it's going to be bouncing back and forth. So if I levitate it, well, it's not going to work either, because I'm still in gravity, so I'm still going to be jiggling it. So the point is you can never create absolute zero or anything close to it in gravity. If you're in gravity, you are hot, okay? You now have temperature. You cannot be without temperature and be in a gravitational field. So if I'm an electron way, way out in space, it just doesn't matter, because guess what? Way out in space, there's still gravity, which means that if there's a little tiniest bit, there's a trillion of arrows going this way, and there's just a trillion minus one going this way. It just doesn't matter. That means you're going to have movement in this direction. And as soon as you have movement, you're heated. Okay? You're a player. You have a temperature. And I don't think there's any way to separate the two things. Force, movement, is temperature, and movement of material objects, electrons and protons, is caused by force. And the force always has to be accounted for. You can't get rid of it. it's continuous. It never dies. It just goes places. It just travels places from electron to electron to electron to electron, or proton, to electron to electron. It just travels, and it can travel. Oh, look! It only traveled in this area of the blackboard. Or it can travel very long distances for billions of years through empty space. But it's always traveling. Yeah, that's enough. It's a nice drawing. I'll accept that. Alright, so I don't know if I want to play this today. I'm just in too crappy a mood to put up with this pathetic... let's play something. It's just such a... It's like, oh man, this is too childish. 250,000 subscribers to this tripey crap. Who can consume this?
No matter how fast you go, light always moves with the same alacrity. And if you could go faster than light, you could do some seriously...
But in the next minute, you're going to say that somehow light doesn't move with the same alacrity. Well, it actually does. It's just that it moves a longer distance. Pushing matter. It wastes some time, let's say, pushing matter.
Brain-breaking things, like traveling back in time to take over a video from...
Yeah, so like even that whole time travel thing is sort of bogus because, let's say you could travel faster than light. And so you had this idea that I'll have an explosion. The light will take a certain amount of time to get to me. I'll travel faster than light and get to the explosion before it happens. Well, the question is, how did you know when the explosion happens? So how do you know when to leave? To get there before the explosion. And isn't the real problem is that you're not going to change time. You're just going to get to an event that already took place quicker than the light left. But you're not going to change the event because the event already happened before you even started leaving, right? That could be the argument, right? The explosion happens, then you leave going faster than light and get to the explosion before it happened. Obviously, physically, you can't do that. It's not going to happen. You'll just get there faster than light. You won't get there any other way. You didn't change reality because you went faster than light. So you didn't undo some event. You just wasted time having to go nowhere, pretending, because the event already happened. You can't get there before the event happened. You can only get there when the event happened. If that was the trigger. If that was the thing that told you when to start. So it just isn't going to work.
Your future self. 300,000 kilometers per second is so dang fast that nothing with mass will ever be faster.
Alright, so it's just more nonsense, right? I mean, we know that photons burn holes through things. Why are we talking about nothing with mass? It certainly has momentum. It certainly does make matter move. So why are we pretending it doesn't have any mass? It's just baby talk. It's so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. What sense does it make to say photons don't have mass when we know momentum's made out of mass? What's the momentum made out of then? So you change the momentum equation to some other equation because you've got it wrong. Alright? You have to break one of them. One of the concepts has to go. Either the mass concept goes or the momentum concept goes. But yet one of them has to be destroyed because this doesn't work. It doesn't make any sense.
Then this sheer, vicious velocity. Unless you get clever with it. Wait, which one am I? Wait, which me was he? What year is it? It's not 2020.
See, like, going slower is infinitely big. Not going faster. Right? I mean, theoretically, going slower would be the thing where you can go infinitely slow. But you can't go infinitely fast.
20, is it? Oh! No!
Now entering the facility.
Today we are going to get...
So he just stole from Mystery Science Theater 2000 or something, and it is just fucking so lame.
More cleverer by learning about refraction, the apparent bending of light as it travels through a medium. Now, if light was traveling...
And so, as I pointed out, the obvious point would be is that the atoms are lined up with the electrons on the outside, blah, blah, blah. The electrons are connected to protons. There would already be a bias in the direction of in. Right? I mean, it's not that complicated. Just to understand why there's a bias towards into the surface. Right? I mean, it's the gravity argument almost, you could just say. But, I mean, it's magnetism argument. So you know that the surface has protons here and the electrons are here. So we know the surface has the electrons on it. We know the electrons are bound to the proton. So they already have a bias in, not a bias out. So if you hit them, you know their bias is going to be to move down, not just this way, but in this way. So obviously there would always be a bias to move in. Okay, and then when you're leaving, the same bias exists. The bias is out, not in. So, I mean, that's not that complicated.
at light speed all the time, the same distance over some time, then we wouldn't expect this bending.
Well, we would if we knew the light is now being transmitted. It's not flying through empty space. So we all know that these are dense materials that this happens in. The denser the material, the more it bends. So we know this isn't about flying through empty space and not hitting anything. We know this is about hitting things. And the logical, obvious conclusion is you hit more things, okay? Hitting things consumes time. It takes time to move electrons. They don't move as fast as the force does. So the amount they slow down tells you, okay, how much of a degrade moving matter is to the speed of light. In the case of, I guess glass, you're talking about a 40% change, which is pretty big. Now, does that mean it's moving, that the electrons move one half, like let's say it was 50%, just to make it an easy number, half, that the electrons are moving half the speed of light? Or do you have to remember that you're calculating this based on most of the time the light isn't interacting with the force? Most of the time the force isn't hitting an electron. So it spends a lot more time flying through empty space than it spends pushing the electron. So that number has to be even slower, right? Electrons have to be even slowing it down even more than that. And I would argue that it's not really happening that way because the force doesn't act in a straight line. The electrons aren't all lined up in a straight line pushing each other. They push each other this way and then back this way and then back, So they take a very unstraight path to the other side.
Expect something more like a straight line. But here's the thing. I know what I just said about unchangingness and immutability and all that, but light, when going through stuff, isn't traveling at light speed. But it is. But it isn't. But it definitely is. Let me explain.
Oh, yeah, it's wave-particle duality. So let me explain. No, and it explains with wave-particle duality, which ain't going to make any sense either, right?
Do the wave.
But Kyle, I don't have arms.
Oh.
People watch this and go, oh, I'll thumb it up. Oh, I'll subscribe.
Oh, nice. Good one.
Super user do. Yeah. It's got Linux code on the screen.
Intuitively, light, when scientifically interrogated, acts...
See? So he's going to explain it is, but it isn't. But it is, but it isn't. By the is and isn't rule.
As both a particle and as a wave. And this wave interpretation will help us here.
Oh, right. So we'll just choose one for convenience. I mean, it's just so a nothing explanation, right? I mean, this wave particle thing is just crap. We know it's one or the other. This is just bullshit. It's jellyfish or it's little bits of momentum all the way down. So, grow up and smell the bullshit here. Come on. enough of this, right? I mean, it does get even,
Wave is in reality an oscillation in an electromagnetic field, a rippling in the unseen but ever-present oceans of fields that we all live in.
So they just say it as if they have some real hard evidence that there's many different fields, all kinds of different ethers. Ether, defer, mefer, pefer, gefer, defer, sneefer, defer, we can just go through 400 different ones, and then we have all the anti-ethers.
And just like waves on the water, light waves can...
So it's just like a bunch of water molecules that are stuck to each other and uncompressible. So the ether is an uncompressible pile of mush. Says you.
Interact and interfere with each other. For example, an interacting wave of light similar to this one would add to it, increasing its amplitude.
Yes, and the catch is when you increase the distance from here to here, you 4 times the distance of the volume. The volume ends up getting 4 times bigger. And that's relevant to the radar experiments and such. Where you put an audio signal on a carrier signal. When you detect the carrier and amplify it by having 2 sources, you have a 4-time increase in the strength of the radio signal. So if I have 2 radios, signals, 2 antennas, and I'm broadcasting song on the radios, if I turn one of the antennas off, I'll have a 4 times decrease in the volume. So if I have 2 sources, equal sources, in phase, I'll get a 4 times the volume at the receiver, just because of how we demodulate the signal. It's just because of a feature of the way you take the music signal off of the carrier signal. You end up with this 4-time increase because your one signal is just a digital on-off signal, and the other signal ends up being forced to be a sine wave. And well, anyway, blah 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 blah.
And interacting light waves perfectly out of sync would produce a new wave of nothing. Similarly, a high velocity wave.
So again, but waves would be going on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off, and blah blah blah. We don't bother with that.
Interacting with a slow velocity wave will create a new wave with a velocity somewhere in between the 2 values.
Right. So one minute he was talking, he's saying this is think of light as the wave. Let's use the wave, but that this is true only for waves in mediums, and we don't have any evidence that there's any medium. So again, especially a medium that's gluey and waveable. Let's just see if there's anything particularly funny about this part. I don't know. He does laugh at his own jokes a lot. Well, anyway, I've had enough of it. Yeah, I'm sick of this already. It's very hard to watch. Alright, so we will end with the proper Google is evil and irresponsible and lies all over the place. Lies about what it cares about, lies about what it wishes to do, lies everywhere about everything. Horrible lying corporation. Lies about people making videos. Yeah. It lied about my video. No hate speech in there. Anyway, till the next time and such. So forth and whatnot. Ugh.